Tennessee's transfer portal ranking ain't great. It is National Signing Day, which doesn't mean much at all, because somehow we went from, in about 20 years, if you got one midterm enrollee, it was like a huge bonus to your class. And now everybody's ready just to show up at school in the middle of the year. And I don't know if that means high school's gotten easier or the acceptance rate has gotten easier at the universities that we talk about. But National Signing Day is not what it once was. The transfer portal is arguably more important now, or protecting your players from the transfer portal. So what do you make of Tennessee and their standing with the other SEC teams?
So Tennessee has the third from worst ranked transfer class in the SEC. Texas and Florida are behind them. But adjusted for needs, Tennessee has the second worst grade in the SEC, only to Florida, which got a C minus. Tennessee got a C. According
now, wait,
to
wait. Are you doing the adjustment for needs?
No. Grant Hughes of 247 Sports did the adjustments.
Okay.
And so Tennessee got the basically the point they're saying is Texas grade was a little bit better because they have a lot of talent, so they didn't need as many transfers. But they at least address needs with the transfers more. So with that in mind, Tennessee has the second worst transfer ranking in the class. And I spoke out of turn. I don't mean adjusted for how many transfers do you need, period. I meant like, did the transfers you get fill specific needs enough to outweigh it? That's why Texas got a better grade than Tennessee.
Okay. So
long story short,
to make sure everybody understands, is this looking at last year's class?
No, this year's. This most recent transfer portal window.
So the guys that are coming in this year to their new schools.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, Tennessee added Sam Pendleton, the interior offensive lineman from Notre Dame, Amari Jefferson, the Alabama wide receiver, Star Thomas, the Duke running back, and Wendell Moe Jr., the Arizona transfer offensive lineman. That was pretty much it. The question is, and I know Dave considers this a concern, but how much of a concern is this?
Okay, well, let's go ahead and we'll put it on the poll. I mean, very slightly. I think it's a big concern, and I think that Tennessee is basically going all in. I've made this comparison before that to me, the transfer portal is now a college administrator's way of going to you and saying, I will give you as much as you need to keep players, to go get players, to do whatever. But it's analogous to when an NFL owner goes to a head coach and says, you got to fire some of your coaches. I'm giving you one more year. So do you see my comparison there? And I think you're seeing that at Florida. If Billy Napier doesn't win at a high level this year after the money they poured into that program, I think he's in trouble. I think that Ryan Day, hindsight's 2020 now, he won a national championship, but I think he would have been in trouble. I think they put a lot of that money that they had into keeping players. And I think that Tennessee's doing some of the same. And I think it's keeping players that they believe they still need. Now, I would argue they needed Scroll White, but I know Scroll White has a baby he's talked about, and he had to go where the money was best, and I don't blame him. Other than that, I don't think Tennessee lost a lot of talent that they just couldn't live without. So they're spending money right now, Caleb, on guys that they want to keep. Well, that calls into question your talent evaluation, which at the end of the day, that is absolutely the biggest determination of whether or not a coach is an elite coach or not. I'm not saying that you don't have to have other factors, but if you can't tell that guy's a really good player instead of an okay player, you're going to have a really tough time competing at the SEC or Big Ten level. I think it's troublesome, and I'll continue to tell you why. It's Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank, member FDIC, life made better.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions.
I think it's troublesome because Tennessee's kind of going all in. And if they post an 8-4 season next year, which I don't think they will, or a 9-3 season and don't make the playoffs, which I think is a real possibility, Caleb, there could be trouble. There could be trouble in paradise. You go into 2026 after an 8 or 9 win season. I don't care what happens in a meaningless bowl game. There's going to be some people that expect you to win like now.
I think, and I disagree with you, I don't think it's troublesome because I think this is a sign of how confident Josh Heupel is in the talent evaluation he's done at Tennessee. He thinks that the guys he signed, particularly in his second, third, and fourth recruiting classes, are good enough that he doesn't have to go out and get transfer guys. The transfer portal was operated on by Tennessee for the first 3 years or 4 years more heavily because they lost so much talent from the Jeremy Pruitt era that they had to just fill guys fast. Josh Heupel wanted to build a program that, is of players that are in his system for a while, learn his offense, and then are ready to take over. This will be really the first year that happens, honestly, that he's got players that are experienced in his system, because Josh Heupel does believe that even though the offense is easy to figure out for a quarterback, it's maybe trickier to figure out for a receiver and maybe some interior offensive linemen. So maybe he wanted guys in the system for a little while before he was ready to plug guys in that he recruited. This is his first year to do that. He's taken the risk. Now, Dave, I'm going to also add that I'm not so sure just being a good transfer portal team or having a good transfer portal grade speaks well on your program. Guess the 4 schools that got an A grade in this column.
Okay, I'm interested.
Kentucky, Auburn, Ole Miss, and LSU. Don't those seem more like desperation grades than kids just wanted to go transfer to those schools?
I can't go. See, I go back to, did those schools go all in like Ohio State did? I mean,
Ohio State was desperate. Ohio State was desperate. It just worked out. And by the way, Ohio State spent the school that's pulling the Ohio State is LSU. LSU has the highest grade. Brian Kelly got an amazing transfer portal class, but Brian Kelly is desperate. You realize how bad he looks right now, given how Notre Dame played for the national title without him this year, and he just went 9-3.
Yes.
And so Brian Kelly is absolutely desperate. Ohio State was desperate. Look, as we know, Chip Kelly is now off to the NFL. They forced Ryan Day to bring in Chip Kelly. They forced that $20 million to spend, and they said, go win us a national title now or you're done. And he was all but fired after losing to Michigan. So, I mean, there was a level of desperate the whole time. Good transfer portal grades come out of desperation more than anything else. Wouldn't you agree that Mark Stoops is somewhat desperate?
Somewhat
because the 8-5 thing, he can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's a little bit desperate. I think there are a lot of teams that are a little bit desperate out there.
And you and I definitely, and Hugh Freeze is definitely desperate, isn't he? After what Auburn just did this past year?
You would think so, certainly.
And Lane Kiffin is desperate year to year because Lane Kiffin just can't get the talent he needs on the recruiting trail. So, I mean, look, I'm just being honest with you. I think when you can take all those factors into account, the teams with the bad transfer portal grades, the 3 worst again, Texas, Tennessee, and Florida. Yeah, Florida's desperate to a certain degree. Are you going to accuse Texas of being desperate?
No, not at this point.